Hi, this is Cody Landefeld from ModeEffect. We're so grateful and happy to partner with so many companies here at our agency in ModeEffect. And today I got a chance to sit down and discuss a recent project we finished with one of our clients, Coastal Medical Training Institute. And Bill Waldron joined me for a conversation and just answered some questions about his experience working with us. So I'm excited to share that, and thanks for taking a look. All right, Bill, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your business?
Sure. My name is Bill Waldron, and we have an online school called cmtitraining.com, and we do allied health courses, mainly medical courses. And then we also have a new course coming out called veterinary assistant course. So that'll be our seventh course that we have out. And we've been around since, well, my wife started back a long time ago as a dental assistant. But at CMTI, we've been around since right at 2019. Been around for a while.
So, before we started working together, what was your website or marketing experience like?
Well, there was a lot of dubious personalities out there that we were really new at it. So they would just tell us anything that we wanted to hear. I had one guy tell us he would give us a bespoke website, and this before I even knew what a bespoke was. That's how long ago this was. Nobody even uses that term anymore, I don't think. For $5,000. I was like, "Whoa, this is great!" So, of course, after about 2 days, he hit us up for another $5,000. I was like, "What?" So it's been a challenge to get like honest people who really know what they're doing, and the marketing side of things. You know, it's we've always used a Facebook boost platform kind of, and it's worked out pretty well. But then we got to the point where we were just we learned a lot from that, and we learned that you can do just as well with like saturation ads and things. So, so that's what we do now, pretty much. We do some social media, whatever, but we do a lot of saturation ads in Facebook, and so on. But yeah, it was the Wild West when we first started, as far as you know, the I guess the internet. I mean, they saw us coming, basically. I think, you know what I mean. They kind of saw us coming, and we were brand new, and so we had to get kind of bailed out a couple times. We've had some issues, but now things have smoothed out.
All right,
Definitely.
good to hear. What were the challenges, or what challenges were you running into when trying to get students enrolled?
My plan from the very beginning was automation. I didn't want to have somebody sitting there on the phone talking to somebody and having them like come into the building and then like fill out paperwork and then do all this stuff. We wanted to have it so that it could be done online, and literally totally automated. And it is. I mean, we have people, humans that work, for us. Obviously, we have staff, but for the most part, you can go through the entire system without even talking to a person. Except for your Zoom meetings, you have to do. But my main goal was automation, using tech as much as we could to maximize how many students we can have, and keep them happy and make sure that it was a quality program, and we've done that, I think, pretty much.
So, what made you decide it was time to invest in a new website for CMTI?
I think that it was, having spoken to different hosting companies, different web developers who we had worked with prior to you guys, saying, "We hate your website. it was built on a custom theme. And so there was a lot of code in there that would, not work with things when that were added, or, it just wasn't meshing properly the way it's supposed to. And it looked kind of dated, looked kind of 90s. It was built by, some people, I think, that were, had secondhand information about what websites should look like. Um, so we decided that it was time to simplify and make it, streamlined, simplify it, make sure everything just worked. And then, and we had talked to you guys, and we're like, yeah, let's do this. I mean, it was a big undertaking, but we're really glad we did it.
These things tend to be. When you were evaluating options, what stood out about working with our team?
I think that you guys were respected. You had good reviews. I went and looked at some of the sites that you had done. Spoke to you. You explained to me everything that was going to happen. You were sent me out this prospectus on, how it's all supposed to work, and it was all done very professionally. You guys have a good system set up to where you can explain things to people, what they're going to get, what they're going to get for their money, what they're not going to get. You know what I mean? You know, we were happy with the results, and we still are. I mean, every time I need something, I talk to Joseph about, a new page. Within really 24 hours, I mean, he'll answer me. And then within about, you know, another, maybe one day after that, I'm looking at the page, the I explain to him, what we're trying to do with it and what we want to do, how we want to present it. Oh yeah, he's always very, very understanding. He's just a very bright guy, and I just like working with him. He's been very, very helpful for us overall.
Awesome. Yeah. So, getting back to the project, what was it like working with our team throughout building the website?
We always got updates. I liked the fact that this was done on a staging site. And as the days went by, I just go on to Kinsta, our host, and look on there and see what had been done, and be able to make suggestions. And then, of course, there were certain things that I could do that, because you were using Spectra and everything on there, so that made things a lot easier for me. Joe showed me how to do a couple things, which were just simple little tweaks, that I could do, and made a big difference as far as my overall satisfaction day to day, like how this thing was moving along. We were always happy with the reports that we got. It was always nice to know what was going on. It wasn't like some of these people we'd worked with in the past where, you really didn't get any reports, and you couldn't look at anything. They would send you screenshots, you know, and the screenshots don't really look right. So it was nice being able to actually log on there and see what's going on.
Sure. Yeah, appreciate that.
Mm.
Since Well, let me back up. So, did anything stand out to you during the process? I feel like you're it feels like you're reading my script and you're answering these questions ahead of time, so I'm kinda asking redundant questions a little bit, but if you could add anything here, did anything stand out to you during the process?
I guess professionalism, communication, frankness. Let me know. Okay, look, that'd be nice, but that's not going to happen. Something like that. You know, I think you guys did a great job in creating a new site. You use kind of the same bones in general, WordPress platform, and you know, just it was just a smart way to do it. I mean, you're just very smart. very knowledgeable about what you're doing. I have to think back, to last December and think, what did we go through? Well, no, not December. Hell, that's when we launched it. I think it was like August, when we
Yeah, that's
started.
fair. A while back.
There was just constant, there was just constant work and constant progress, and that's the thing about it. I think was just we felt like we were moving ahead. We were really excited about the new site, and we still, to this day. I mean, I'm proud to, to look at it, and I'm not saying it can't get, a little bit bigger and add some things, later. Not that we have to, but if we want to, it'll be easy to do. You know what I mean? But it's very fast. It helps us to sell courses. We have not had any issues with sales. Nobody, like the old site would say, they would say, this doesn't work, that doesn't work. I can't do my upload. I can't do this. I can't. And then we never get that. Never. So, you guys definitely know what you're doing. I'm very impressed with the overall process, and then we're happy customers.
Excellent. Yeah. So, since launching the new site, what feels different? If you can add anything based on what you already shared.
I think the simplicity of it, being on Kinsta too. Of course, you guys, I did find you guys. I think that they were suggested through as a Kinsta partner. That's how I found you guys. But, so we were already on there, but you know, it, you're very knowledgeable about Kinsta, and so you know, the fact that you guys are sort of integrated with them, makes us feel, that we can sleep at night because I've told people before, having a website, the way it has been before, I don't want to jinx it, but, is like having your own, like having a restaurant. And then you go into work in the morning, you go in and you put your key in the front door, and you don't know if it's going to open or not.
Yeah, that's a good metaphor.
It might just snap off, and then you're like, "Oh my god," So, you know, I have not had any of that stuff happening. So we've been very confident. Things have been growing lately. They're picking up for sure. Overall, since December and rolling into now, I'd say we've picked up probably about 30%. Uh, I hope it's going to continue. You know, and, into the summer months and everything, but, the website itself has been a great asset. It's helped us to reach more people and help more people because we have low price courses helping people to basically improve their lives, you know, get good jobs and get certified as a medical assistant, veterinarian assistant, whatever. So it makes us feel good when somebody finishes a course, gets a job, you know what I mean, writes a success story. It's great. The website is the bedrock of all that. So it's been a good experience.
Man, that's great feedback. That makes me feel good. So, what kind of results have you seen since the new website launched? If you can add anything else here,
What you mean?
have you seen an increase in leads and enrollments? I think you said there's a 30% lift here.
Yeah, I would say yes. No, for one, the website has not been an impediment, like it had been sometimes in the past. It's actually been it's just a very clean, simple design. You know, we, you know, we feel like, it's the idea of the simplicity that was kept in, in check, throughout the process. We didn't overcomplicate it. So I think that helps, the way the flow goes from the front page to the course choices to the enrollment, everything just works very easily. I mean, we had the system before set up, but there a lot of times there were some snags. So, but I know that the website has to do with that. I mean, the fact that people can walk in. I mean, literally, we have people constantly go on to Bing or whatever, Google. They Google in my area, boom, we show up. They go on there, they look at the site, they lay down full payment for a course
That's
within
wonderful.
20 minutes.
Yeah. Wow,
So
that's good. That's
happens all the
great
time.
metrics. That's great metrics. So basically recapping what you're saying, not just seeing close to a 30% lift in enrollments, aiming to build an automated process with the site. And the last thing you shared is really important. It's like somebody search for this particular course that you sell in your area. They land on the website from search and they're in and out in 20 minutes and
Yeah, yeah. I
full
mean,
payment.
either it's weekly payment, full payment. It happens all the time. So, that's the way we wanted it to be
Yeah.
because, we don't sell courses that, are like Title IV, you know what I mean, government regulated things like that. We're a private school and we only sell courses. We don't do necessarily do programs. You know what I mean? So it's not like we have to do a background check and run all this stuff and they have to have 2 years of, you know, basic credits in college and all that. We don't have all that. So, I mean, they can just walk right in, say, I want to be a medical assistant, and then just sign up and literally because if they were to do if they did everything that we tell them to do, which they most of them do, some of them don't. But if they just did what we asked them to do, which was to complete their course, do everything, get certified, study hard, and then they'll go out and they'll get a job,
Right.
And so, the system works. I mean, and the website is just a huge part of that. You know, it's it's definitely, smooth looking, nice looking, very professional. I mean, it's just everything we could want. So it definitely doesn't detract,
Right.
from
Yeah.
anything. It adds quality and it adds value to, it's a pleasant experience, going on there. It's all
Agreed.
very uniform, the way it's laid out. We were all particular, and you were too, making sure that everything was uniform from course to course, each page, laid out exactly the same way, you know what I mean? So it kept that professional look. So yeah, it's
Awesome.
not the hodgepodge that it was before.
Yeah. No, this is good. So what would you say to someone considering working with Mode Effect?
I would say that, you know, you guys do some design and will do implementation too. You have great design ideas, so they don't have to worry about everything from the beginning, you guys like to have meetings and talk about what the customer wants. You don't force ideas on, or anything like that. Um, you know, for the most part, I mean, it's like state of the art website, creation. I mean, we use WordPress, but you guys probably you may do use other platforms, but as far as WordPress goes, if you need a WordPress site, I would definitely say you guys are the best I've ever worked with. Just the best quality of communication, service, actual putting the code in, writing, making sure things work. If it's needed code, use code. If not, and the thing also too is you don't use a lot of plugins. I mean, I noticed that from the beginning. Like we don't want to add a bunch of plugins, and you guys from the old site actually removed, I think, what, 30 or something like that. I mean, we had some crazy stuff going on, but you know, it's a fast website. I mean, it does well, and so I would say that overall, just a professional organization. It really guys know what you're doing. There's no doubt about it.
It's always good to hear. How would you describe our team in a sentence or two?
I would say responsive, smart, you know, willing to work together on things and not just having. I mean, you're always listening to the customer. You're listening to me, and whenever we sent you guys updates or changes to the way we wanted things to look, it was always like, yeah, you know, that was fine. I mean, everything looked good, and you guys were easy to work with. Very easy to work with, and responsive on the phone, on a text. Probably more responsive than I am. That's for sure.
Fair enough. What was the biggest value you got from working with us?
I think the biggest value is the finished product. Um, the fact that it doesn't have to be messed with. We have a maintenance plan, we have a website, we have hosting. It just runs. It's just headache free. I mean, I don't have to think about it. You know what I mean? All I do is, I see updates need to be done. I'll say, hey, talk to Joseph. Hey, can you? Oh yeah, man, we got that. So and I did that the other day on the 27th. There was like, I don't know, there was like 17 updates. To the different plugins and stuff. So it's just responsive and just a very fast website. You know, always keep it in mind what's going to make it lighter. What's not going to. Even though we do have a video clip on ours, it didn't slow anything down. You guys worked it out to where it's you made us happy. Made Tony happy. You know what I mean? So she wanted to have that. So yeah, I mean, we've been very happy with it so far.
Cool. I got two more questions and I'll cut you loose if you got time. What's next for your business?
Well, we are getting ready to launch a course next week. So that is being put onto the site as a coming soon, thing. And Joseph's been working with me on that. And the products are all done. They're ready to be tested, and we're just going to keep going from there. We're, working to, just keep growing and trying to, set goals that we make, every week. And, that's basically our plan is to keep growing for the next, say, 5 years. Just keep the growth happening, and then then we'll look at what we'll do from there. Because I ain't no silver sneaker, but I'm close.
I hear you, man. Last question, and then we're all set. How do you see your website supporting that? How do you see your website supporting that growth moving forward?
Well, I know it's going to work, and it's always, there's always somebody available to talk to about updates. There's always somebody there, when I'm ready to add a page or add a course or whatever, I just upload the stuff to Joseph, and he gets right back to me and has any questions, and then day and a half, day later, I'm sitting there looking at it, in the previews, So I just think that it's just going to be more of that. We'll probably add another course this summer. So within I'd say probably by the end of the year, we could be up to possibly close to 10 courses having. And we got 7 now. I mean, with the new one coming out, so just keep on growing, man.
There you go. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to answer these questions, Bill.